Here are our rare bloomless daffodils that for some reason have bloomed this year. Boy, they're beauts, aren't they? Call it a focus. Get that focus going there. Nature in all its glory. We have one bloomless survivor. All the rest have been corrupted by nature trying to reproduce themselves. I hate yellow.
What? What's that? What? What you...
Is she trying to pick up a bug?
You have a bug, Megan? Do you?
Rock. Can you see the moon? Can you see the moon, Dad?
Yep.
Nope.
Yeah.
Dad, try looking. Should I?
The Royal Crown.
Alright. Not fun, though. Not the monologue.
I got a good close-up of Johnny Cakes.
Cover that, Joe.
It's Don Russell.
Cover that, Joe.
Get yourself in the mirror.
Cream, sugar. One lump or two. One lump or two. Good. You should.
Green Booth. Michael Jackson in there playing the guitar.
There's Michael Jackson.
Right there.
There's Michael. There's Janet singing. Let's zoom in on Michael Jackson. The picture of intensity.
He's really belting one out.
Yeah, he is. Let's take a quick scan of the control room here.
Arlene come over. Well, I was there from the get-go. Me and Johnny Cakes. Then he come over.
Where did Larry go?
Up to the music store.
You need to erase that stuff with Kevin.
This side B, we know, is 1 meter. So 1 squared, which is 1, is equal to side C squared, right here. So then we take the square root of both sides, just like we did here, and here is C, this distance. Since it's going C and then it's going C again, the distance that it goes is C times 2. That's the laboratory frame. In the rocket frame, it goes up 1 meter and down 1 meter. So it's traveled 2 meters here. Up here, since this is always greater than this, the light beam has had to travel a greater distance than 2 meters. So what this is saying is when you think of light, the amount of time it takes light to go 2 meters is always a constant. The amount of time it takes light to go more than 2 meters is always a constant. So in the rocket frame, this is less than this. In other words, less time has elapsed here than has elapsed here. So if someone is in this frame of reference, the time is going to be slower than it is in this frame of reference. That's why when the twin comes back, they're younger than the twin that was here, always relative to each other. And that's kind of the beauty about this theory. A lot of people, when they hear Einstein and special relativity, they think, oh, who could understand that? The beauty of that is that it's explained with just very, very basic mathematical concepts. Thank you.
Before you sit down, Would you switch the two charts, the center and the one to the right, just move them?
This one?
No, that one and the lab rocket one. Just
Oh, these
exchange-
two?
Yeah,
Okay.
just exchange the flips for a second, if you can. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. In our laboratory frame, the light beam has traveled this distance and this distance. In the rocket ship frame, since it is moving with such a great velocity in this direction, the light beam effectively goes straight up and down, resulting in less distance traveled than here, being the hypotenuse of this right triangle is always going to be a greater distance than B. And another thing I was thinking about yesterday is we were talking about the trapeze artist. And it turns out my mother's uncle, which would be my great uncle, used to work for the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus that traveled around the country. And he was the gentleman that was shot out of the cannon. And did that for years without an accident, and finally he was getting ready to retire, and the people in the circus were very upset because they didn't know where they'd be able to find another man of his caliber.
Back up, don't turn around. Okay, good. That's right, there you go, okay.
We're going to start off with a riddle.
I heard this last night.
What does a dyslexic, agnostic insomniac do? Lays awake all night wondering whether or not there's a dog. Esoteric.
Oh my. You don't tell that when you open your show, do you?
Explain to Todd.
A dyslexic person is someone that reverses words when they say them. So, and agnostic is someone that's not sure if there's a God or not. So, might have been a little too late.
Dog, God. It's okay.
Stop us when we get to what we're getting.
I got some of these ideas. I was speaking of the team handbook. I was leafing through that last night. Read some of these things about Dr. Deming, I guess it is. And it seems like during World War II, he, by training, was a statistician. And during the war, helped our military-industrial complex through statistical process control get their collective act together to fuel the war machine. And probably one of the reasons we defeated the Germans and the Japanese. And so I got to thinking maybe that's the reason he went over to Japan to help the Japanese, is he might have had a guilt feeling about destroying them. Regardless, they were talking about it, all of the Japanese strength started at a dinner meeting in 1950 with Dr. Deming and 45 Japanese industrialists. And he told them that the reason Japanese stuff is so bad is because you accept inferior products from your vendors, your specs are loose, a multitude of reasons. And he gave them the means, I guess his 14 points, which might have only been 5 points at that time, but nonetheless seemed to have worked. Look at Japanese products today. And he said, if you follow these points, within 5 years, people are going to want Japanese products. You will have a market share. And it turned out he was wrong. He said in the book that in 4 years, people were demanding Japanese products. So I got to thinking, well, maybe there's something to this. There has to be some kind of rhyme and reason to this. And I read some of his. He has a list of 14 points that Western management and industry should follow. This is what the Japanese did. It seems to work for them. Why can't it work for us? So I thought I'd take just a couple of them that initially when I read them, I really had to laugh because I couldn't really see American industry, especially management, starting to initiate these principles. So the first one I'd like for us to discuss, one of his points is he believes that you need to eliminate work standards, and by that he means quotas. So, I've worked for the production department before. There's a quota. You have to get your rate for the day, or you might have a little talk with your supervisor. Do you see this happening in EAR? Jack, for example, can you go up to Pete Jones and say, well, Dr. Deming says we should eliminate quotas. Why do we have this big bulletin board right outside our packaging room that shows all our machine efficiencies, what percent of their quota they're making? Somebody spent a hell of a lot of time putting that together. According to Dr. Deming, that's worthless.
He doesn't say not to post machine efficiencies.
Now, let me put it this way. Eliminate quotas, and we, in essence, have done that. Sure, machines have capabilities, and sometimes we don't meet that capability. But if you look at our charts, they don't have numbers like all we have is bar or T-charts that come off and say this person is more efficient than this person. Okay, and we have a means, but that means will vary. So there's really no quota to that. That's a good point, and we have somewhat done that.
Okay.
So you
Yeah.
don't get a monthly or a weekly report from Pete anymore, or whatever it was that
So we
each
produce so many.
machine, each shift on this machine did so much percent, so much percent of what the rate was or whatever. Pete's little comments, good, need better,
no.
or something like that.
No.
You don't have that
And you
anymore.
look out in our hallways now, there are T-charts, and there's no numbers involved in that. That only shows this is how efficient the machine runs for that month. And over here, maybe a graph, and this person is above, and we got a few here, and we have some right into me as well. We make, so we see what the control is, depending on how much maintenance and production downtime, everything figures into that. So maybe the machine was capable of running 20.14 cases if it was run perfectly, but the means may be set at 16 because that month, that's how efficient overall because of all the downtime and everything figured in, worked out. Now, the operators judged on how efficient they were on what the machine run, the capability for that month. Now, that capability can change from month to month. So we have done that, in essence. We don't get those to say, all
Great
that.
job, needs
Yeah,
improvement.
matter of fact, they're in the trash. We don't go by those anymore.
How have you found the production rates been? Have they increased, been the same? Or has it been more of a satisfaction on the employee's part, working without quotas, or what have you noticed on
Well, this is the key point, and this is something to get operators thinking that.
Let me time out it for a second. Is this where you wanted to go?
Yeah. So
You're wanting to get discussion.
Okay. You want this level of the discussion?
I'm about to interrupt.
Okay, fine.
Kind of segue.
All right, fine.
Okay, well, if you're about to interrupt, then I'm done.
No, go ahead. Let him practice interrupting. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, this is the key point. It's hard in this position where I'm at, production supervisor, people thinking that again, on qualities and also the operator's point, that quantity is what I want. Okay? We can get all the quantity we want, but if we're producing rework or extra work, then we're losing money. And I preach this constantly. With quality comes quantity. And I really firmly believe that. And I've shown that because our quality went up in the last 4 months and our efficiency went along with it. So our quantities went up with the quality.
Great, great. Let's get to another point. He talks about and EAR's had this for as long as I've been there. He says one of the 7 deadly diseases is to have a personal yearly review. And I mean, that's something a lot of people dread. Kevin, your review's next week. You might start thinking about packing your bags or whatever. How do you feel about that? How are we going to judge people without a review?
I think that's one of Jimmy's, he's got solutions, but he never comes back and explains to you how that can work and how that's going to happen. And I personally find that, I don't agree with performance reviews sometimes, but I don't think we can do without them. Lost my train of thought.
What I like, rather than saving everything up for the end of the year, is some immediate feedback. If you've done something wrong, I want to hear about it right now. And if I've done something good, I want to hear about it right now.
That's what I understand the point is, was the yearly reviews. That's not to say there's not performance evaluation, but it's not like you wait till the end of the year and tell somebody you're messing up all year.
You get your, 10% raise or 7% or whatever, 5% raise, and you go about your business. And if, well, you had 2 goods and 2 bads, and there you are, here's some merit increase, blah, and then the whole next year you're going, well, gee whiz, I guess I'm going to get 6% next year, so I might as well just do whatever I got to do.
That's what I think is so bad, because you can give someone an excellent review and turn around and say, because you've done such a good job, I'm going to give you a 3% raise. Oh, this is good. So I don't think it's good to combine the two. I mean, I think performance appraisals and reviewing throughout the year
Because
is a
you
good
tend to,
thing.
just like Jarvis says, you tend to not listen to your appraisal. You're just sitting through all this crap that they're feeding you to find out what you're going to get in money.
Well, look what we've done on the floor. I mean, Newark in the last 6 weeks, 6 months, has put that step grade system in. You know, as production supervisor, that all your people on the floor every 6 months get their step,
No matter what.
whether they're good, bad, or indifferent.
That's why I say, why even have them? The way the company has worked in the past, I mean, we've got people that's worked there 12 years that shouldn't even be working there because they don't do the
Right.
job. You got people that's been there 6 months that can do a better job. So you got evaluations, everybody knows, 3 months, you start, especially somebody just starting in the company, 3 months, I'm gonna get a raise, just because they never hold anybody back. Because, they figure, well, they're doing an okay job or whatever, let's go ahead and let them get by. And so that the step rate is always completed. They're never held back, however 90 days or whatever it takes to hold them back so that they maybe will try a little harder and get a little better at what they're doing.
So then you think kind of like,
It's
we
an
all do that,
automatic, I feel.
that the performance appraisals should be separated from the salary
Uh-huh.
increase because your performance is irrelevant to
Right.
what your salary
If you
increase is gonna
perform
be.
the way you should, I think you should get the raise. But if you're not performing up to satisfaction, I don't think you should.
But you get it anyway.
But you
What
get it
think.
anyway, exactly. It's an automatic.
Well, then you're right, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So that was the advantage of the old Newark system, is that it was based on merit within broad limits. The disadvantage is if you're a cabinet sitting in Waltham, then you don't know whether that supervisor is being fair to everybody or not. And if you give everybody the quarter, everybody in the whole world a quarter, you can't say you're being unfair to anybody. Okay, so that's where that comes from.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying it's the supervisors. I think it's just the role that the company has taken for so long that, for a supervisor all of a sudden to say, well, I'm not going to give this person this step grade, when in the past, everybody's always gotten their pay increase or something because it's the way it's been. So that's how they do it.
A lot of good points right there. Another thing, Jeff being a finance person, item that really interested me was another one of his 7 deadly diseases was the Western emphasis on short-term profits, I guess the quarterly report, and that type of short-term thinking. Do you see that changing?
I don't see
Do
it
you see
changing.
that as being an evil?
It is an evil. It's gotten worse around EAR right now, but it's an evil with all companies. I mean, right now you're trying to make your performance such that people don't want to buy your company because you want to have as much cash, or else you want to make your company look so good for the last 6 months, like EAR has, that you're going to, instead of getting 170 million for EAR AO, you're going to get 200 million. So just within 6 months, focusing on short term, get it out the door, you've increased the profitability of the money that you can get, the dollar amount you can get for your company. And that's been, and now it's even more, like you said, it's even more, as well, it's even more important these days because so many companies are so heavily leveraged by debt, like Ross Perot was talking about, that you have to make every month count because you've got to make your debt payment. And if you don't make your debt payment, then you're in trouble.
Now, do you think that the Japanese don't think that way just because of their culture?
Well, they probably look at it the way that I'm sure that Demi said you should. If you produce a quality product as low a cost as you can, then you don't even have to look at the bottom line. You know what's going to be there. But if all you worry about is your sales and your costs, and you don't care how you get your sales or how you get your costs, just whatever looks good, and a lot of people do it to create it financially, that then that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what the product is. And I think, like you said, that's how the Japanese are doing it.
Let's wrap. I don't think you have time for the next board.
I think this has been a fruitful discussion. I think that we've raised some controversial points, and I think everybody's been honest. I appreciate that. Thanks for your time.
Okay, good. Ready?
Ann and I chose as a topic the single supplier issue, and we were trying to come up with pros and cons on this issue. According to Deming, I guess there are no cons, but we came up with, I think, what it might be an outside shot. Nonetheless, something that we thought could happen. If you have a single supplier, well, what would happen if we buy, for example, Adnex from one company? What happens if they get bought out, they go out of business for whatever, and then this supplier is no longer there, and it's the key ingredient to our earplug. And we have let's say a 4-week supply. What happens if it takes 6 months to find another supplier? You're down, we're effectively shut down for 5 months. So I thought, or I should say Ann and I thought that's a possible negative. Any ideas on that?
I think maybe if you kept a list. Maybe you have a single supplier, but you know that there's XYZ Corporation out there that has the Admix also, and that you really don't buy anything from them. But if something, emergency came up or something happened, that you could, at least you have somebody that you could call.
Okay.
That's an argument. Isn't that an argument for larger safety stocks also? The interruption in supply argument is an argument for having larger safety.
But there's no accounts in here.
I'm not saying it's best. That's what the argument is.
Another thing we thought, the issue of price. Let's say you have one supplier, you're buying greater quantities from that supplier, could that work negatively? This supplier says, well, we know we're their only supplier. Let's bump this up 50 cents a pound. They're not going to get it anywhere else. What are they going to do? What do you feel? Is that a realistic situation, or are we off base on that?
I think if you buy from one supplier, you're depending on quantity, you're going to lower your price. Especially in materials and production, and even office supplies. The more you buy, you have generally a quantity to run. And to lead in to what Jeff said, you always have to have in back of your mind that who would be another supplier if this one just fell out for some reason.
Yeah, I think,
Who you pick as a single supplier is very important.
Okay.
yeah, I think, right, exactly. Once you set them up, you need to set up the right people. And if you've got them set up right, then you shouldn't have to worry about any of those other kinds of price problems.
Okay, so what we think we've demonstrated is price probably is a plus, just having one supplier due to the quantity factor. And I guess we could say reliability. Having one supplier, probably have a tighter specification on a product. Any others that maybe I haven't, Ann and I have not thought about that you can think of on the top of your head?
Leverage. If you're buying a lot of stuff from one guy, you need more to him than if you're buying a little bit from a person. We hear it all the time. This is a good customer. We sell a lot of stuff to them. Take care of him.
Or else they say, God, we're supplying this guy a lot of stuff. If you need something in 3 weeks and our normal lead time is 4 weeks, well, let's step it up and we'll get it to him in 3 weeks if he really has an emergency.
Okay. So leverage?
Okay, and then a wrap.
Okay, so on the issue of a single supplier, we talked about price, reliability, and leverage. And I guess in this case, we have to agree with our buddy, Dr. Denny. And, thank you.
Good. Okay.